Hey guys, MetalJesus here. Now recently a friend of mine reached out to me, his name's Andy, who knows a guy who wants to just get rid of his entire big box Amiga game collection. It's about 80 games and he just wants them gone. Andy wanted to know if I was interested in adding those to my game collection here, and I was like, yes, hello. And Andy also teased that there is a very special edition original Xbox also included with this. So I'm pretty curious to see what that is. Now the only caveat is that Andy lives pretty far from me, but that's never stopped me before. It's time for a road trip. Let's take a look. Like I mentioned, Andy lives in a town called Port Orchard, which is about 60 miles away from Seattle, which doesn't sound like it'd be very far. However, this is Seattle and traffic is terrible, and for this one I actually missed the ferry, so I have to drive around through Tacoma to get there, so it takes about an hour and a half. But I'll be honest, I've been cooped up in my house far too long, and it's nice to be out in my car with the stereo cranking, taking a nice little road trip. But Port Orchard is a pretty cool, sleepy little town. Only about 14,000 people live there, but it's right on the water and it's very laid back. And as soon as I arrive at Andy's house, he is there waiting for me to take me into his garage and check out all the loot. And as you can see here, he's put aside 5 boxes of Amiga software. 4 of them are primarily a bunch of Amiga games, and then one of the boxes is Amiga productivity software. Now what's cool is that all of these games are the big box versions of them. So they have the complete boxes, the floppy disks, they have the manuals, the registration cards, everything is included. It's quite amazing. Now, I'm not going to dig into these while I'm standing in his garage here because he actually had some stuff to do. So I'm just primarily getting an idea as to what I'm looking at here because I had no idea when I showed up, but I'm super excited. I love these kinds of pickups. It's just a treasure trove of amazing stuff that I might have seen, but a lot of it I've never seen before, and it's so cool to just jump in here. And my plan is when I get home, I'm going to pull all these out, organize them, and then I'll show you all of the highlights. It was at this point I was pretty curious, so I was like, Andy, what's the story behind all this?
So thanks for coming today. The story behind all of this is that I have a coworker named Michael Hazen who used to work as an Amiga technician for Walden Software in Westlake, actually. He had a garage full of this stuff that he collected over years and years and years, and it was all going to go to the dump. He asked me if I wanted an M3 keyboard. I love keyboards. I said, yes, I will take an M3 keyboard. He sent a photo and said, want anything else? And I said, I'll take it all, because I am all about preservation. I'm all about getting games in a place where they will last and can be enjoyed forever. So that's when I called you, because I know you have a climate-controlled environment, and this stuff will be loved and looked at, and I can't think of anyone better to donate it to. And by the way, there was something else in the lot that I think is going to be interesting to you. It is a launch edition Xbox. These were sold only to members of the Xbox team. Fewer than 2,000 were made. I was working at Microsoft at the time, but I was not on a team that was allowed to buy these. I could buy the standard black Xbox bundle. These were special. Literally only 2,000 made, and it has a controller.
So in addition to all the games, there were also some old computers there, including this Apple IIe. He asked me if I wanted it, and honestly, it's in pretty bad shape, so I think I'm going to skip this time. But Andy is going to keep something for himself. In that collection was a boxed Amiga 2000. Now the box is in kind of crappy condition, but the computer itself actually is in great condition, so he's excited to keep that. All right, the car is loaded up with games, and this time I'm going to take the ferry home, which would be a little bit quicker, and, well, let's go ahead and check out what I got. So here are the 82 games that I picked up. Now, this does not include the productivity software, which I will show briefly at the end, as well as some of the loose floppy games that were kind of rolling around at the bottom of the boxes. And right off the bat, I spotted something familiar. This is Heart of China by Dynamics. This is a really cool point-and-click adventure game, as well as Neuromancer. This is another point-and-click game, although I have not played this one, but I noticed that it has music by the band Devo. Another game I've seen the cover for in like magazines, but I haven't played it, and that is BAT or BAT. And I guess this is like a adventure RPG, but man, I love that cover. As well as 2 Starflight games. Now, it's interesting because these are considered some of the best games ever made, and it's cool to get them on the Amiga. And here's a bit of a curious one because it looks like it's published by Konami and Gremlin. It's Space Wrecked, 14 billion light years from home. I guess it's an RPG. I've never played it, but inside the box, it does have a cool Konami game catalog here with some games they were currently publishing on PC, which is pretty neat to see. Now, I've seen Breach 2 before because I think it sold pretty well, but this is the first time I've ever seen the original big box version of Breach. So this is a tactical squad-based game that was pretty cool for the time. And here's Overlord, which has one of my favorite covers of any game ever. It's so cool looking. Here's an RPG I've never seen before, but check it out. It's by Rainbow Arts. Now, I think that's the same Rainbow Arts that created the Turrican series. That's pretty cool. Now, this is a bit of a cool find. So this is an adventure game published by Tomahawk, but it was developed by Cocktail Vision. Cocktail Vision might sound kind of familiar because they also created the Goblin series as well as Woodruff and Schnibble. They created the Inca series, Lost in Time, a whole bunch of kind of quirky games. So this is pretty neat to get. Here is Draken, another awesome cover on these old school Amiga games, as well as Might and Magic 3, an RPG that I did play on DOS back when it was new, and it'd be kind of cool to check out what is different about the Amiga version, as well as a bunch of AD&D games. Now, I already have all of these on DOS, but it's going to be really cool to check out the Amiga versions, because again, I've never played those. And here is Wizardry, Bane of the Cosmic Forge, another classic RPG of the era. Some of the more collectible and sought-after Amiga games were by Psygnosis, and this haul had a couple of them, including Barbarian, The Killing Game Show, and Armageddon. I love that title. As well as Nevermind. And again, like so many of these games, I absolutely love the cover art. So epic. Here's one I've never heard before. Really weird name. It's called Purple Saturn Day. That's really bizarre. And then here's a motorcycle racing game called RVF Honda. I guess it only came out on the Amiga and the Atari ST. And then here's the Amiga version of Road Rash. It's so weird to see the floppies instead of, like a cartridge or even a CD. That's so cool. Here's the Amiga port of the arcade game Vigilante. Now, what's cool about this is that it comes in a hard clamshell, almost like it was a Genesis version or even a Neo Geo or something. Here's Cadaver, which is an action game that takes place in a 3/4 view, as well as Cosmic Pirate, which is a space action game. And then you have Viz the Game, which I guess is based on a British comic. I've never heard of it before. But I have heard of this one. This is The Lurking Horror, which is one of the classic Infocom text adventures, and it has all of the feelies in there, including this squishy and creepy bug. Oh man, it's so awesome. Also in the boxes were a bunch of military simulators in there, and so I've tried to kind of group all of those together. Some of them I played, some of them I haven't. I haven't played Team Yankee, but I have played the original Falcon. Falcon was the F-16 flight simulator that was pretty much everywhere. I played the first one and the third one for sure. And at the time, every publisher was putting out some version of either a flight simulator or a tactical game. And so that's kind of what you're seeing here. But again, like I've said so many times previously, I would play the DOS versions or maybe the Commodore 64 versions, but I've never played the Amiga version. So again, this is pretty cool. And it's funny that there's a copy of Railroad Tycoon in here because we were just talking about this on my Discord and how people are still playing it today. So yeah, definitely a classic. Here's another one I haven't heard of before. It's called Quest of the Time Bird. Man, that cover is so trippy looking. King's Bounty is a game that came out on a bunch of systems, including DOS, the Commodore 64, and also the Genesis. But this is kind of curious. Check it out. It says demo copy, not for resale. Populous is a series that's come out on a bunch of systems, both consoles and computers, and you see both of them right here. And then we have some strategy games, which of course everyone is familiar with Risk, but I thought a Nuclear War was a nice companion piece to that. What I love about that era is that pretty much anything goes when it comes to releasing games. So check this one out. It's a courtroom game that looks pretty homemade. I mean, check out this binder. It looks almost like business software or something like that. But again, pretty cool to see. You don't see this much anymore. As well as this Tarot Master software. I think it's a game. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just how to learn about the tarot. I have no idea. Also, check out this comic setter software. So I guess this would allow you to create your own comics on the Amiga, which is pretty cool. And then here are some publications that I guess you would either subscribe to and get them in the mail or pick them up at computer stores. They're very thin, they're covered in plastic, and they have a floppy disk with games on them or software. I assume probably demo versions. And at the time, the Amiga was considered a very powerful computer, especially when it came to graphics and audio. And so included in this haul are a bunch of productivity software specifically for creating graphics. You see this one right here, which includes a VHS tape, I assume to get you started. And then here's another one to help you sculpt and animate 3D objects, maybe for television, I'm not sure. And then here are some of the loose floppies that were rolling around at the bottom of some of these boxes. There's actually probably anywhere from 15 to 20 of these, and I just picked out some of them that I thought looked kind of interesting. And then here is another look at that original Xbox Launch Team 2001 with the Bill Gates signature on there, as well as the special edition written on the front and the original controller with it. This is definitely a holy grail item for my game room. I'm pretty happy to have this. Now, if Andy looks a little familiar to you, it's probably because you saw him in the Devolver Digital Direct that came out about a week or so ago. He plays a character in that, which was hilarious. I think they called him My Uncle That Works at Nintendo. And he was hilarious in that video. He's actually been working with Devolver Digital for many years now, I believe on the video production side. So, and I've known him for a long time as well. He's a super cool guy. And again, Andy, I want to thank you so much for this awesome find. You are a rock star. I love you, bro. That was very cool of you. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.